My name is Grace, and this is my husband, Andy MacLean. We've been attending Village 7 for about 7 years, actually, ever since we got stationed here at Peterson Air Force Base. Well, he got stationed here, and I came with him. So a little bit about my backstory. I was born in Temple, Texas, to 2 Korean immigrants. My father was a doctor there, and growing up, we always went to the same restaurants every Sunday, the same places for vacation, and so I grew up with a very defined comfort zone. And so I like my comfort zone. I like my being a homebody, and I'm kind of an introvert. But I just wanted to share how I feel like God has really been, in his patience and his grace and his love, kind of pushed me along towards this opportunity now. If you had asked me when I was young if I ever thought that I would be doing missions work some point in my life, I would have said absolutely no way. But through the progression of my life, I can see God's hand pushing me in this way. The first part of that was meeting Andy and falling in love with him, and he was a military guy. So with the Army, we moved every year, every 2 years. We had kids. We have 3 children, and we had 3 kids in different places. And also the next thing was Andy was chosen to be a foreign area officer in the Latin American region. And so we have lived in Mexico, Costa Rica, and El Salvador for 2 years each. And so that kind of pushed me a little further out into a different culture, a different language, getting to meet people from all around the world. And so that, I can just see God's hand as he's pushing me gently in the direction of missions. And so this opportunity with Acts is just the next step in that.
And I'm very different in the fact that I do like doing new things all the time and experiencing new cultures. So Grace is kind of like the anchor and I'm the sail, but together we do make a really good team. And that was what we found out during my Army career, where the Army gave me a lot of interesting opportunities, especially these opportunities to learn a new language and go overseas. And what I learned through doing that is we took advantage of the United States having a lot of resources, having a lot of good training, having a great military, and we were able to export some of those things to the Latin American militaries. And so we served kind of in temporal matters, but I think a lot of that will be able to be applied now to God's kingdom, and that we, as the church in America, we do have a lot of resources, we do have a lot of training and ways we can encourage these foreign militaries. And now I can start doing kind of the same work, but in a eternal fashion.
So over the years, we've been a part of an organization called Officers Christian Fellowship, and it's a national organization. They're all lay-led Bible studies, all different, ranks of the officers, in different bases. So they have a website, and so we would go onto that website when we would move to a new base, and they would list who the leaders are and what groups are available in that area. And so ACTS is the foreign arm of Officers Christian Fellowship, and what they seek to do is come alongside foreign militaries all around the world and help them to develop a Bible study system much like Officers Christian Fellowship in their militaries.
So Grace and I will be serving with ACTS, which stands for the Association of Christian Conferences, Teaching and Service. And what ACTS does is comes alongside the foreign military Christian fellowships and we encourage them and help them with resources, and then just kind of be there to support them in any way that's needed. And we try to encourage them to integrate their faith into their profession. Is the kind of main thing. That's what OCF does in the United States, and that's what ACTS will do primarily abroad. And there's a lot of ways they do it, and as we work with them, one of the key tenets of ACTS is to keep it to where it's led by the people in those countries, and not for Americans to come over and try to take over, because we want these people to be independently run. But there's a lot of resources that they don't have, or difficulties that they're experiencing that maybe we've already overcome in the United States. So we do support them in that. And so in addition to working with the leaders in those countries, one of the things ACTS does and has asked me to help with is also they have camps that they do, adventure camps, for a lot of the younger officers at either the cadet or lieutenant stages of their career, to bring them to Colorado, bring them on an adventure, but during that time to teach them how to lead discipleship groups and how to grow in their faith, and then export that back. So kind of prepare them to take that mantle in their own countries. So what we did find is that 1% of the world is under uniform of their armed forces or in militias. And I know Village 7 had a 1% calling. So we want to be part of the 1% of the Presbyterians to go to 1% of the armed forces in these other countries. And it's just a really great opportunity, because a lot of time, I grew up as a missionary kid. So a lot of times as a missionary, you're trying to break through cultural barriers, establish friendships. And what I've noticed with the military is no matter the country, we've been given a common culture through military training. And so it really fast tracks a lot of that initial bonding. How do we want Village 7 to support us or pray for us? You know, we really want them to pray that, one, we may quickly earn those trusted relationships with our military counterparts in these other countries, and then just kind of discernment on how to prioritize their needs, is what I like to say. And then finally, that we just may be given the words to encourage them, because our goal ultimately with this mission is that every soldier or military member in uniform gets to hear the gospel and has a chance to be discipled by someone else in their country's uniform. And so that's kind of what our calling is. There's a lot of unknowns, so I do feel a little bit like Abraham and Sarah stepping out on faith. And so we hope to report back to you in a year or two about a little bit more of what we're doing and what God is doing through us in this area.